And that's why so many people like him. And I know we're starting to get this stuff about Donald's a racist. I mean, this is the most ridiculous thing. I don't understand. Well, yes, I do. I understand it. I fully understand it. That when you get to somebody like Donald that cannot be debased or derailed, then they're going to throw in the race card. And they've always seemed to, and the reason why they're doing it again is because the race card has worked over 95% of the time in the past. The problem is that they're throwing the race card on Donald Trump this time. The problem is with that is that there are too many people, too many minorities, both Latino and African American, who believe in and or support Donald Trump. Donald Trump has a record of not being a racist. Unlike, and it's a very well-known record, which is, if they throw the race card at somebody else, they may not have that type of a proven history to debase or debunk that charge. Donald Trump was on TV promoting African Americans and non-whites. So this is a last-ditch, desperate effort by the left, by the lamestream media, and by the GOP establishment to try to derail the Donald Trump train, which is, it's not on two rails, folks. It's on three. And these rails, it's like a roller coaster. They're locked down to the rails, and nobody can seem to derail it. And look, I bring up this whole racism thing. You know, he's a racist because this is all the left has. Donald Trump says, well, we need to stop certain Muslims from coming into the country until we can figure out how to vet them, to make sure we're only truly letting in those people who are going to love this country, who are going to contribute to society here, and not letting people who are going to be potential or definitely deadly to the American citizen. And for that, he's being called a racist. But that is the most stupid and asinine thing to possibly say, considering that these leftists who hate Donald Trump, who are saying this, their own favored people, their own favorite historical people have done the same thing or worse, and they do not debase any of them. FDR, even JFK, although we know JFK would not be a Democrat today. He would not make it in the Democratic Party. And for those of you in Rush Limbaugh's rear end, JFK stands for John Fitzgerald Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. He's too conservative for the left today. He really is. I think Jimmy Carter would have a hard time being a mainstream Democrat today. As bad as a president as he was, I mean, the man wasn't stupid. He was just incompetent. That's all. His heart was in the right place. I'll give Jimmy Carter that. His heart was in the right place. And just about everybody will say that about Jimmy Carter. His heart was in the right place, but he was just a peanut farmer from Georgia that was in over his head. He was incompetent for the position. That's it. That's what made him bad. That's it. He had the wrong political view. He was just inept. But he didn't hate this country. He wasn't in it for himself. Indeed, there's nobody who could possibly tell me that they believe that Jimmy Carter became president just so he could get rich. He was in it for himself. If you look at his presidency, it wasn't about him. Yes, he was a terrible president, but it wasn't about him. Bill Clinton was having too much fun. It was kind of about him. But make no mistake about it, this current president, Barack Obama, it's all about him. About him. You cannot say that about Donald Trump. It's not. I know he's bombastic. He seems arrogant. He may be a little bit. Yeah, look, you don't get to be in a position that Donald Trump is in, have the name that Trump has the brand that Trump has by being this completely total humble person. It's just, it doesn't fit the type of position that Donald Trump holds. Yeah, look, nobody who runs for president is all that humble in my book. Because you think that you're the best person for the job to lead 300 million people. That takes a little bit of arrogance at least. It just comes with the territory. It does. And unless people are writing your name in or they are shouting so loud that you can't ignore them anymore, if you freely just decide you're going to jump into the political race like this, there's very little humility in you. But just because there's no humility in you does not mean that for some reason, somehow, you're a racist. And I bring this up because Breitbart is reporting that a reverend by the name of Jesse Lee Peterson, who happens to be the author of The Antidote, Healing America from the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood, he calls Obama a great seducer and the greatest liar that he has seen in his lifetime. And his response to Obama's State of the Union address tells people that he's a great seducer and the greatest liar that I've seen in my lifetime. And quite frankly, he's not wrong. He's absolutely right. And he said Donald Trump is not a racist. And well, depending on the poll that you see, 25 to 28% of African Americans will have to say, because they support him, Donald Trump is not a racist. Now, I'm part African American. I do not believe Donald Trump's a racist. There are Latinos out there, a lot of them, and they're showing up. The funny thing, you're not seeing them in the pictures, most of them in the pictures on the news, because they want you to think that Latinos are not supporting Donald Trump. The reality is that Latinos are also supporting Trump in droves. They obviously don't think he's a racist. Now, of course, you're going to get people like CARE, the Muslims who think, I don't know why you would pay attention to somebody who is not a citizen of this country, who wants to come to this country, when we say, well, we're going to just put a hold and stop, temporary hold until we can figure out who you are, till we can figure out how to vet you properly. Now, we just heard Sabine that, even though she was married to a member of the United States Army, she had to go through an extensive process to get and spend a lot of money to get here and become a citizen. And yet we're just supposed to open our and we're talking about a German here. And let's face it, Germans are considered to be an ally of the United States. There's very few people that would be considered dangerous to the United States who are German citizens. There's an awful lot of Muslims and Islamists who are considered to be dangerous to the United States, but we're supposed to just let these people in willy-nilly. How does that make any sense? We've got illegal immigrants crossing the border who are caught multiple times committing multiple crimes, from misdemeanors to felonies, from petty crime to murder, basically, and they're being let go. But you get an American citizen or a legal immigrant who commits even the slightest crime, and the book gets thrown at them, and if there's possibility of jail time, they're going to jail. None of this makes any sense. And yet, we're going to throw rocks at people who want to really fix the problem. You got African Americans who are talking about, they're being targeted unfairly by the judicial system and unfairly being singled out and going to jail for longer periods of time than other ethnic groups for similar crimes. And statistically speaking, if you look at the numbers, they're right. That is happening. So you get a person who's talking about stuff like this, who's saying that the criminal justice system is a little askew, a little awry. We need to do something about it. We need to stop these illegals from coming into the country. We need to build a wall. We need to send illegals back. We need to protect the American people and American borders. We need to keep, the potential terrorists from entering the country. So we need to put a hold on certain groups of immigrating to this country till we can figure out how to vet them to let the legal ones here who are actually going to contribute. We get that type of person who's all about America and Americans, And you got the left running around with like a chicken with their head cut off, screaming like a headless chicken that this guy is nothing more than a racist. Are you kidding me? Most ridiculous, idiotic stuff that I have heard yet come out of the left. Go ahead and disagree with Donald Trump all you want to, but do not throw around this fake notion simply because you cannot derail him any other way by calling him a racist. And that's all you got. And you cannot point out exactly why you're saying that. I've asked people, well, why do you think Donald Trump's a racist? Well, because he's against Muslims. Really? So you would then let somebody in knowing that they could possibly kill you? The answer is like, well, no. That's all Donald Trump is talking about. Let me ask you, so when you deport a certain people like Iranians because, they attack you, would you consider that to be a racist maneuver? Well, or how about when you're in the middle of a war and you gather a certain group of people together and you put them all in one spot so you can keep an eye on them because you know that some of them might not be who they say they are. Is that racist? No, you know that those people who are not who they say they are, they're gonna try to do sabotage and kill innocent American people. So you put them together so you can try to figure out who the bad people are first, right? Is that racist? Well, half the people will say, well, yeah, that's racist. Well, then why aren't you speaking out against FDR and Jimmy Carter? The other half will say, well, no, it's not racist. Well, that's all Donald Trump is doing. He's doing exactly the same thing that Jimmy Carter and FDR did. So the left, no matter which side they fall on, when it comes to what Donald Trump is proposing, they're wrong. Because they're hypocritical. Hypocritical because they do not denounce anything that their side has done over the past 150 years. So that when a Republican or a conservative proposes to do the same thing that their side has done over the last 150 years, Republican is racist? Democrats that have done it and still are doing it are not. In your world. Work in my world. I'm sure as hell not going to stand by and let them try to say that. Because frankly, when it comes to this world, all human beings, it's your country first when you're within the borders of your country. So for us, Americans first in America. When you're in Canada, it's Canadians first in Canada. When you're in France, it's the French first in France. When you're in Italy, it's the Italians first in Italy. When you're in China, it's the Chinese first in China. It's not racist to think that way. In fact, it's right to think that way. Because to think any other way is going to guarantee that your population, your civilization, your country is not going to survive. Plain and simple. So when you're in the USA, it's United States citizens, it's Americans first. And that's Donald Trump and Ted Cruz.
You want to know what time it is? It's time to bring the rain. You want to know what time it is? It's time to bring the rain.
Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Sign him up for the Box of Bait Club and he'll never be hungry again. The Box of Bait Club is a brand new dream come true for every fisherman. Something new and different in your tackle box every month. Every month, another excuse to get outside and do what you love. Don't let